We're here at the Global Model NATO Summit in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. I'm here joined by Colonel Ian Hope. Colonel, it's a pleasure to have you here.
Pleasure to be here, Tatum. I'm currently employed with the NATO Defense College in Rome, and I had the distinct pleasure of being invited to this summit from a friend, Professor Alex Moynes of Simon Fraser University. Looking forward to spending the week with students and academics from around the world discussing NATO.
So one of the core themes of this summit was to bring the student closer together with the soldier. As both an academic and a soldier, why do you feel that this is an important thing to achieve?
Actually, my experiences in uniform have proven to me that this is essential. I had the fortune when I was 41 years old, in a bit of a holding pattern in my career, to be encouraged by general officers in the Canadian Army to pursue a PhD at Queen's University, which I did. And that experience actually put me side by side with young Canadians for the first time in decades. And I realized how out of touch I was with young Canada. The experiential knowledge that an officer gains from that experience is really, really important. And I think that we bring to the university some knowledge that the students, the younger students, appreciated as well. That experience allowed me to dedicate myself later in the career to helping out students all over Canada, in fact, globally, wherever I could, building a bridge between the profession of arms and the academy.
Very good. So, here at the summit, we brought academics, military personnel, and students together. What from this summit has been the most successful thus far?
Well, I think it's the combination of not just three. There are other communities represented here as well. There's the regular force, the reserve force. There are those who have retired from the one or the other and entered academics or entered a profession. You have a wonderful cross-section of society here right now. And I think it's the combination of those peoples with their various perspective that's going to create an optimum learning experience throughout the week.
So this is a unique experience. In Western Canada, this is the first summit of its type. Do you see a future for more opportunities like this with collaborations between universities and the Department of National Defense?
I certainly do. And I know there are people in the Department of Defense dedicated to creating these outreach or engagement events as often as we can because we understand the importance of it. And I'm hoping there is the same appetite in the universities in Western Canada. Now, Western Canada looking at NATO is not an intuitive yes that's going to happen because normally we associate NATO with at least a Centre of Canada, Eastern Canadian kind of identification, whereas the West is more Pacific oriented. But as we are finding out in the summit here, NATO truly is a global alliance, and the West Coast of Canada is just as much NATO's responsibility as the East Coast. So I think opportunities will grow, especially in the wake of the Warsaw Summit, and our commitment, our recommitment back into Europe as soldiers.
So for policymakers, the people that are making decisions, what can they do to support initiatives like this?
Well, I think the first thing is for anybody in a decision-making office, that is either a DND, the government writ large, the universities across the nations, or any other institutions that has a slightest bit of interest in Canadian defense, Canadian relations, not just with NATO, but multilaterally. This is the kind of event that needs to be supported more often. The reality is we're entering a rather serious and somewhat dangerous time in world affairs, and it's not up to the old guard like myself to actually alone have an understanding of what might be happening in the world. But for the young of Canada and the enthusiastic and the intellectual of Canada to be allowed the opportunities to learn. And it's responsible to the government and institutions of Canada to provide that opportunity as often as we can.
It's nice that you talked about that. One of the mission statement of the Model NATO Summit is to engage the policymakers of the future. That works in with SFU's motto of engaging the world. What skills do you see these future policymakers gaining from an experience like this?
I think the first skill set is a technical skill set centered on consensus building. Consensus building doesn't happen in many institutions in the world. It doesn't happen in the military very often at all because we are high figure leaders. So an event like this, which teaches the technical skill of building consensus of people representing 28 different nations, all of which in national perspective, shaped by national values and national interests, some of which has to be subordinate to achieve consensus, is an invaluable skill. And it's a life skill that will serve those participating in the summit very well for the next years.
What advice would you have for this new generation of Canadians who wish to pursue a career in national defense? What advice would you have?
Stick with it. You have to be patient. Nothing changes quickly in national defense, and that's for good reason. And sometimes, as all large bureaucracies are apt to do, decision-making is slow, opportunities are slow in coming, but once you've found your way in, and once you've found and established yourself within the system as someone who can be relied upon, there's a worthwhile career. And it can go in many different directions, and it can take you around the world, and you can engage the world, quite literally, in a very mutually beneficial way. So stick with it.
Stick with it. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much, Colonel Ian Hope. It's been a pleasure.
My pleasure.
Thank you.